Private mortgage insurance, or PMI as it's commonly known. What is it? Why is it required on some mortgages? And why is it required for some even when they're putting down 20%? Let's talk about that. Welcome to this episode of What's Their MO. I'm Rick Masnick. Bob Orlando's been a little under the weather. We wish him well and hope to see him in next week's episode. But today I wanted to talk to you about PMI, or private mortgage insurance. First of all, what is it? Well, the way I like to explain it to folks is, back in the old days when our great-great-great-grandparents went into a bank looking to get a mortgage to purchase a home, it was unheard of to walk in without having at least 20% of the purchase price as a down payment. That was the requirement to get a mortgage. Well, around 1934, 1935, the Housing and Urban Development branch of the government introduced the FHA, and the FHA, Federal Housing Administration, granted mortgages or started insuring mortgages with loan to values that were greater than 80%. See, the consumer looks at it as 20% down, but the actual guideline is if the mortgage or the loan to value, loan compared to the value of the home, is at or lower than 80%, then you don't need mortgage insurance. Above 80%, you do need mortgage insurance. So most consumers think 20% down, I don't need PMI. Well, in some instances, you do. Here's an example. Let's take, just for round figures, I know these aren't actual numbers in today's markets, but just for simplicity, if you had a $100,000 purchase price and you wanted to put down 20% so you wouldn't have PMI, you'd be putting down $20,000. So your mortgage is $80,000. Your down payment is 20%. Your loan to value is 80%. And that's the number that a lender's looking at when it comes to whether or not PMI is required. Pretty simple, right? Well, let's take a look at this example. And this is something that happened a lot during COVID with bidding wars and houses going under agreement for prices that were higher than the actual value of the property. Let's say you're buying that house for $100,000, but the appraiser comes in and says the house is only worth $90,000. Well, that $80,000 loan that you're taking out is now really only about 82% of the purchase price. So now you're above that 80% loan to value, and now you're going to be you're going to have PMI required on your loan. A couple ways to get around that is either A, you put down more money so that you can get to that 80% loan to value. B, you go back to the seller and try to renegotiate the sales price because of the value of the property. If there's a bidding war, they may just say, no, this is what I'm selling it for. I'm going to move on to the next person that made me an offer. And the last choice is you have PMI on your loan. Well, how long do you have to have that PMI on there? It depends on the loan program you take. If you get a conventional mortgage, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac kind of mortgage, it's until you get to 80% of the value of the home or the purchase price, whichever is lesser, from when you purchased the home. You can ask the servicer that you have to do an appraisal if you think the value went up. Now, the fact of the matter is, when you get to 20% equity or 80% loan to value, you have to request that the PMI be removed. If you don't make that request, the lender can continue to collect it until you get to 78% loan to value, and then they have to take it off the loan. That's on a conventional loan. On an FHA loan, it's if you put down 10% or more, it goes away in 11 years. If you put less than 10% down, then it's on the loan for the life of the loan, and the only way to get rid of it is to do a refinance. And on VA mortgages, there is no PMI. So that's PMI in a nutshell, how it came to be, why it's required, and why in some instances, and we may see that when rates come down, the bidding wars create a possibility of the sales price being higher than the actual value of the property. Now, if you found this information useful, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you know someone else who could benefit from this information, please pass this along to them. But for now, I'm Rick Masnick. For Bob Orlando, that concludes this episode of What's Their MO, and we'll see you next time.